Hey guys, so today we're going to be looking at section 1.5, which deals with solving linear equations just like we have before, except for this time we're going to have variables on both sides. So that is our objective for today. We're going to go ahead and solve multi-step linear equations with variables on both sides, so we need to know how to do that. Alright, so let's go ahead and read this real quick and we'll figure out what we need to write down. So it says, when solving linear equations with a variable on both sides, you must, alright, let's go ahead and fill this in. So we must, get the variable on one side and then isolate variable. So what does that mean? So we have to get the variables on one side of the equal sign, okay? So if you have two of them, if you have a 2x, for example, on the left side, and then you have a 10x on the right side, we have to make sure we can get those all on one side so we can go ahead and then solve by isolating the variable. Now, by isolating the variable, we mean SADMAP. We've been doing that for the past couple of days. Hope you guys still remember, but we're using SADMAP for those types of problems. All right, so now that we know how to solve these, let's actually go ahead and practice with a few so we can get a better understanding on how to solve the rest of them. Okay, so for 1a, we have variable on one side. So we have just that negative 2x on the left side. So we don't have to worry about too much about getting the variables on one side because it's already there. The only thing we have to get rid of now is that 2 in front of the x and also that 3. But which one comes first? Well, using our rules of SADMAP, we know we have to get rid of any addition and subtraction first. So I'm going to subtract the 3. We get negative 2x equals a positive 10. All right. Once we have that, we do the inverse operation of multiplying by negative 2, which is dividing by negative 2. Those two cross out. So you're left with x equals negative 5. All right, so that was simple enough, but then again, that is stuff we've been doing before. Now we're going to actually look at one extra step, which means we're looking at a problem that has variables on both sides. So let's try this one out. So right away we see that I have negative 2x on the left side, but I also have a positive 5x on the right side. Now, as a general rule of thumb, we like to, let's go ahead and write this down, we like to move the smaller term. Okay, so when you have to move something, we generally like to move the smaller term, and that's not always the case, and we might see a situation where we might need to move the larger one. But let's go ahead and use that rule of thumb for now and see if we can figure out the answer for this problem. So let's go ahead and see. We have negative 2x plus 3 equals 5x plus 21. So again, our first step was to move the variable term so it's only on one side. And we said earlier that we're going to move the smaller one. So in this case, the smaller term would be that negative 2x. So we're going to do the opposite of a negative 2x, which is a positive 2x. Those two cross out. You're left with 3 equals 7x plus 21. And look at that. That's starting to look a lot like the first problem we tried out right now. All right, so we now have the variable on one side, the 7x is on the right side. Now we continue using our rules from SADMAP. Okay, so we have to get rid of any addition and subtraction first. So I'm going to get rid of that 21. And then I get negative 18 equals 7x. Once again, I want to get rid of everything that's next to the x, so I'm going to get rid of that 7 as well by dividing by 7. And I get x equals negative 18 over 7. Or if you typed it as into your calculator, you should get negative 2.57. Now, either of those two answers are acceptable at this point because they did not specify if they want it in fraction or decimal form. Okay? All right, so now that we have a good practice problem under our belt, let's go ahead and try out a few more and see if we can figure them out. Now, for problem 1C, there is something we have to do even before we start moving the variable term. Okay? Notice on the right side here, I have a positive 3 and a positive 7. Those are like terms, and we know from before that we have to combine like terms first. So we get 16 minus 3b equals negative 4b plus 10. Okay, so we have to add all like terms first, add or subtract or combine any like terms first before we start moving anything around. Okay, so now nothing else can be combined. The 16 cannot combine with the negative 3b, and the negative 4b cannot combine with the positive 10. So we are good to go. We can start moving around a few variables. Excuse me. Okay, so again, going by our rule of thumb, if we move the smallest variable here, that would be the 4b. So I'm going to add 4b to both sides. Okay, these then cross out. You're left with 16 plus b equals 10. Now notice I didn't write 1b. That's okay because 1b is the same thing as b. Now all we have to do is get rid of that 16. So the opposite of a positive 16 is a negative 16. So we get b equals negative 6. All right, good. So again, what did we do? Let's break it down real quick. Combine like terms on either side of the equal sign if we could. In this case, we did. We could combine the 3 and the 7, so we added those up. Once we have everything combined like we need to, we start moving the smaller variable term, which we did. We got rid of that negative 4b by adding 4b. Final thing is we now have variable on just one side, which was the left side. So we went ahead and followed our rules for SADMAP. So we went ahead and did that by getting rid of that 16. We got b equals negative 6. All right, good. Let's go ahead and continue with this problem. So we have negative 6 minus 8x. Well, none of those can combine, so I'm just going to leave it like that. Equals negative 3x minus 6x. Right off the bat, I can see that these two are like terms, so I have to add them. So I get negative 6 minus 8x equals negative 9x. All right, good. Now, you have actually two different methods of solving this problem. As a general rule of thumb, remember what we said. We like to move the smaller variable term, the negative 9x. Now, in this case, I'm not going to follow that rule of thumb, and it's okay not to do it. You can solve it in different ways. But the reason I'm not going to do it this time is because if I get rid of that 9x like this, I'm not going to have anything on the right-hand side anymore. All right? And yes, we can still move around that negative 6 afterwards, but honestly, that's just going to cause more work. So what I'm going to actually do is move this one. I'm going to move the negative 8x. I'm going to add 8x to both sides. All right, let's see what we get. Negative 6 equals negative 1x. Okay. Now all we have to do is, now we have a variable just on one side. I can follow the rules of SADMAP now. Well, the only thing I got to get rid of here is that negative 1. So I get x equals 6. All right. Now, again, if you wanted to try it the other method and you wanted to get rid of that negative 9x first, that's totally fine. And you will see that you get the exact same answer. Okay? All right, let's move on to 1e. We got negative 2 plus 7k equals k minus 8. So, can I combine anything on either side of that equal sign? Well, let's double check. Negative 2 does not combine with 7k, and k does not combine with negative 8. So I can't combine anything now. So all I'm going to do is get rid of the smallest variable term, which was the k. So I subtract k from both sides. I get negative 2 plus 6k equals negative 8. I officially have the variable term on one side, so all I have to do now is use the laws of SADMAP, so I get rid of any addition and subtraction first. So I'm going to get rid of this 2 first. I get 6k equals -6. Last thing I do, divide by 6, and I get a equals -1. All right. Actually, if we notice, we have now all the answers for our little answer box here. So we had a -6, we had a +6, and we got a -1. So we got all of our answers. Okay. Now, we are going to continue solving these two variables questions. Excuse me, let me go ahead and find what I'm looking for here. Okay, so we're going to continue solving these problems that have variables on both sides. All right, so now the only difference is that we're actually dealing with decimals. But again, just like before, we don't have to be scared of decimals. All it is just more numbers, but we know how to deal with those. All right, so right off the bat here on 2a, I see that this and this can combine. They are like terms, so I can combine them. So what I get 1.48 k equals -1.036. And look at that, I have the variable term on one side, so all I have to do now is get rid of that 1.48. So I'm going to divide by 1.48. I'll let you guys go ahead and type that into your calculator. But you should get k equals 0.7. All right. Okay, double check on your calculator, make sure you're getting the same thing. All right, so let's continue on to the next one. So that one was pretty simple, but the next one just has a few more numbers in there. So 0.95x plus 2.805, those cannot combine, so I can't combine those. Now let's look at the other side of the equal sign. I can already see I can combine that 7.48 with that, that 7.48x with that -7.6x. To give me, let me go ahead and rewrite this down. 0.95x plus 2.805. I didn't touch that yet. And then on this side, I get, if you add that into your calculator, you get -0.12x plus 1.2. All right, so I have combined like terms. Now the next thing to do is get the variable term on one side. So again, our rule of thumb is move the smaller one. So I'm going to get rid of this -0.12x by adding it to both sides. So I get, let's see, let's cancel that out. I get 1.07x plus 2.805 equals 1.2. All right, so we can continue. We can keep going. Now we have the variable term on one side. All I have to do now is use SADMAP. So let's get rid of this. So I get 1.07x equals -1.605. Double check that on your calculator for me. And finally, I get rid of my 1.07. You get a final answer of x equals -1.5. All right. So again, there's just more terms on that equation, but it's the same steps. Combine like terms first, get the variable term on one side, then use your rules from SADMAP to solve and isolate the variable. Okay, so what I want you guys to do is try out 2C and 2D on your own. All right, and let's go ahead and pause the video for now and try them out, and we can come back and double check our work. All right, guys, let's go ahead and double check these two problems. So 2C, can I combine anything on the left side? No. Can I combine anything on the right side? Yes. I can combine these two terms. So I have 4.3n plus 4.664 equals, well, when I add those up, I get 8.54n. Alright, I have officially combined everything. Now I get the variable term on one side. I'm going to move the smaller term. So I'm going to subtract it from both sides. And I get 4.664 equals, what do I get here? 8.54 minus 4.3, that's 4.24n. Okay, now I can get rid of that 4.24 by doing the inverse of multiplying, which is dividing to get n equals 1.1. All right. So hopefully you guys got the same answer there. And as we see on our text box, or I'm sorry, our answer box, we have that as one of our potential answers. So let's take a look at the next problem. So see if we can combine. Right away, I can see I can combine those two. So what do I get? I get 5.6x equals 5x 2.25. Now again, just like before in problem, let's go scroll back up real quick. Just like in problem 1D, we run into the case that if I get rid of the smaller term here, which is the 5.6x, I'm not going to have very much on the left side. So I'm actually going to go ahead and get rid of the 6.5x by subtracting 6.5x. Okay, that way I have the variable term all on the left side. So what do I get here? I get negative 0.9x equals 2.25. All right. Now I'm going to divide this by negative 0.9 because I just want the x by itself. And I get x equals, let's type this in. I get negative 2.5. All right. And yes, yet again, we have that answer on our answer key. All right, good. So I hope this is starting to make a little bit more sense, guys. Now, like I said, the first few problems we did were just regular linear problems, linear equation problems. We moved on to decimal problems, but it's okay because they weren't as hard as we thought, hopefully. And now we're just gonna add one extra step that we've also covered in the previous sections, which is distribution. Okay, so let's go ahead and try these problems out. So number 3a is kind of like the ones we've done before, so let's go ahead and solve it. I have to distribute my negative 7, so I get negative 7b minus 42 equals negative 91. All right, so again, let's see, can I combine any like terms? Nope. Can I get the variable on one side? Well, it's already on one side. And finally, now I can move on to SADMAP. So I'm going to add 42. Those go away. So I get negative 7. Whoops. Sorry about that. I get negative 7. Whoops. Still not working. There we go. Excuse me. I get negative 7b equals negative 91 plus 42 is... Okay. Hopefully you guys got negative 49. We divide that by negative 7. We get b equals... Negative divided by negative is a positive. All right. Good. So we get a positive 7. So once again, we're going to do similar steps now with variables on both sides. So we know right off the bat we have to distribute. As soon as you see a parentheses, guys, distribute it. We're going to distribute this term. So we get negative 24b minus, whoops, sorry, looking at the wrong numbers there, minus 12 equals, all right, now on this right hand side, distribute the negative 3 once again. So I get positive 18p minus 12. Okay. All right. So let's go ahead and see what we get. So let's go ahead and check. Can I combine any like terms? Nope. Are there variables on both sides? Yes, there are. So I have to move the smaller one. I'm going to add 24p. So I get negative 12 equals, let's see, what is that? 42p minus 12. All right. Continue using SADMAP. So add 12 to both sides. And actually, you're going to get 0 equals 42p. Now, a lot of you guys might be freaked out already by this, but it's okay. Just keep going, guys. It's all right to divide by 42, even if it is a 0 being divided by 42. But if you divide 0 by anything, what do you get? Well, still 0. So our answer here is just p equals 0. All right, good. Let's continue with 3c. Okay. All right. Let's go ahead and try out 3c. So we have 3 times 1, that's 3. Excuse me. Then we distribute the 3 times negative r, so I get a negative 3r. Distribute this next term, so negative 6r minus 6. Okay, I have officially distributed. Can't combine any like terms. There are variables on both sides, so I'm going to get rid of the smaller one. Okay, what do I get? I get 3 plus 3r equals negative 6. Continue with SADMAP. Subtract the 3 first. Okay, so I get 3r equals negative 9. Divide by 3. Whoops. Divide by 3. These 3's cancel. I get r equals negative 3. All right, good. So finally, we're going to take a quick look at 3D. Now, again, we have fractions now, but again, don't let that kind of stuff intimidate you guys. All right, so all we're asking in the first part is, what is half of negative 8? Well, half of a negative 8 is negative 4. And because it has the a, don't forget to attach that. Same thing, 1/2 of 32. Okay, or similarly, what's 32 divided by 2? That's just a positive 16. All right, now on the left side, I have that negative 8a. Not combined with anything. So I'm just going to leave it. Now I have to distribute this negative 3, I'm sorry, the negative 1/3 to both of those terms. So negative 1/3 times 6a is a negative 2a. Okay, again, remember, it's almost like saying 6a divided by a negative 3. Same thing as negative 2a. Okay, then 24 divided by negative, I'm sorry, 34, excuse me, sorry about that, just totally got confused there. Negative 1/3 times 24 is a negative 8. Okay, all right, so let's see if we can do anything more with this. Before I start combining, I'm sorry, before I start getting the variables on one side, I have to make sure I can combine some stuff here, which I can. Whoops. Totally highlighted the wrong thing. Sorry about that, guys. I can combine these two terms. So I get negative 4a plus 16 equals negative 10a minus 8. All right. Now I can go ahead and move my smaller variable. I get 6a plus 16 equals negative 8. Follow that up with SADMAP, so get rid of the 16. I get 6a equals negative 8 minus 16 is a negative 24. Last step here is get rid of that 6. So I get a equals negative 4. Alright, so again, both of those answers are on our answer box. Alright guys, so I think what we're going to do is go ahead and stop there for today. So that was section 1.5 when we're dealing with variables on both sides of our equations. And on our next lesson, we're going to be looking at some special cases of these types of problems. So at this time, you can go ahead and stop the video, and I will see you next time.